So when you're out on the pond or playing roller hockey or playing street hockey, you're at a camp, you're having fun, are you nervous? No. And you can skate forever, right? When you go to a big tryout, when you have a big game, playoff game, what happens to your legs? They get heavy because you're nervous. So you got to turn that playoff game into a street hockey game. And you talk to, I told you guys, I flew back with Rob Scuderi and I asked him, I said, weren't you stressed in the playoffs? You know, he's already won a cup at Pitt. He already won a championship at BC. He goes, you know what, we just get into a groove. We're all confident in what we do. We had a great goalie, so it really wasn't nerve-wracking. Granted, they cruised through the playoffs. They didn't have a lot of Game 7s like the Bruins did last year. But you got to have confidence in yourself. You got to do breathing exercises before the game. How do you do the breathing exercises, guys? Let's practice. Ray Bork, you guys know who Ray Bork is? One of the best defensemen of all time. I play with him a couple games, and he sits in his stall, and he breathes in through his nose and out through his mouth for about a half hour before the game. And I asked him what he was doing. He goes, these breathing exercises take all the stress out of me, makes my legs feel good. So try it. Breathe in through your mouth, nose, out through your mouth. It also, if you get a cramp, that takes care of your cramp. So breathing exercises. What's something else you can do to really relax before a big game?
Meditate.
Meditate. Excellent. So how do you meditate? What are you doing? You're sitting down in a quiet place, putting yourself in a good place. What I used to do is I used to go in the stands and I'd grab my sticks and I'd have my tunes on. We didn't have iPods when I played. And I'd listen to music that put me in a good spot, whether it's AC/DC or whatever it is, Britney Spears, whatever the hell you guys listen to. And take your stick. And what are you doing when you're doing this? What are you thinking about? You're thinking about your responsibility in the game. So you're a defenseman, and your coach tells you all these things all year long that he wants you guys to do, and those are the things you need to do. So what I used to do is, let's say that I was playing the Flyers, and they have Lindros, so they have a really good player, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't beat me. I hope I don't get benched. I hope I don't. Those are all negative thoughts, right? So what do you need to do in your head?
Think positive.
You need to think positive. So I went to a sports psychologist for 3 years, and this guy trained me to get rid of mistakes. If you make a mistake, can you control that? It's over. So if you make a mistake, are your parents going to not feed you for a week?
No.
Are you going to prison?
No.
Are you going to Iraq to fight in the war?
No.
It's a hockey game. Don't take it too seriously. You make a mistake, don't bang your stick, don't be a baby. Own it. Own it. What does owning it mean? Yeah, coach, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. That's all you can do. And then thinking it through. So I made a list of all the things, all my responsibilities. It was 3 pages long as a defenseman. I carried it in my wallet, and I'd go in the stands, and I'd read it every game. So offensively, what was my job in the power play? What are a couple of things that a defenseman has to do in the power play? He's got to get the puck and get it to where?
The net.
To the middle of the ice. Right? Got to get it off the boards, get it to the middle of the ice. He's got to hit the net. He's got to hit his wingers. He's got to do this, he's got to do that. Penalty kill, breakouts, all the things that we're teaching you this week, those are all things you should write down so that when you get into game time, it's natural. One-on-one, what are you guys doing on one-on-ones? Stick out in front, looking at chest, shoulder on shoulder, forcing him wide, not letting him cut in. Gap control. You write those 5 things down on your piece of paper, you will be a better player this year. It doesn't sound right to you guys probably, but when you're out on the ice, it happens so quickly if you can just do it without thinking, because it's a game of reaction. There's no thinking on the ice. It's all reacting. The other thing is, I used to get negative thoughts on the ice. So I'd come out for the face-off. I'm tired. I had 4 games that week. I'm just looking at the scoreboard, looking at 20,000 people, and negative thoughts start looming. I say to myself, holy cow, I'm going to get scored on. Guess what happens? You get scored on. So it's almost like what you wish for happens. So you've got to really, the glass is half full. You've got to be positive. You've got to be glass. So like when we're doing this handshake competition, instead of saying, oh my God, I hope I don't win, you got to say to yourself, I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to win it. It's confidence. In all areas of life, confidence is important. All right? So what is something else you guys can do to get yourself into a big game? Get your rest. Excellent. Stretch. get to the game early, eat healthy, exactly, don't have McDonald's before your game. What I used to do is there's two things that I'd like to happen with my first shift. I'd like someone to dump the puck in my corner and put me through the glass, run me, because that'll get you into the game quickly, right? So I'd like to get hit, or I'd like to hit someone. Or my partner, I always tell my partner, if you get the puck, I want it. You gotta go D to D with me right away. I wanna get that puck on my stick, I wanna get a feel for it, and get myself into the game. Or a shot on net, or a fight. Whatever it takes. You know, there's some guys like Sean Thornton for the Bruins, he's tough as nails. Guys like, he knows when he goes into Montreal, he knows when he goes wherever, there's a tough guy in every team, he knows he has to fight that guy. And you talk to those tough guys, they don't sleep the night before. Do you think they enjoy fighting? It is a hard job. Imagine dropping the gloves in front of 20,000 people and losing. That's what they're scared of, losing and letting their team down. They're not actually scared of breaking your nose, they could care less, they're tough as nails. They're worried about letting their teammates down. So everybody has their own job. So my job when I played was, I was very quick, I was big, I was physical, and I could shoot the puck. But I was lacking one thing. I didn't have great hands. I wasn't good with the puck. So how did I play in the NHL with average hands? I moved the puck. I learned early because I always thought, man, for me to get to the NHL, I got to beat 5 guys one-on-one. I got to do this and that. And I learned that I just got to play within myself and be steady. Does a coach want me, loose cannon out there, someone who's trying to stick handle around guys, losing the puck, being a liability defensively? No. So I basically would always suck in one forward. I'd always have one forward get to me, and I got great at outlet passes. I could pass forehand, backhand. I could hit my center every time coming around the net. I had a great saucer pass. If you can't throw a saucer pass, guys, high school, college, and pro, it's all saucer passes now. The game is so fast, you can't throw flat passes. Sticks are in the lanes. You know the stick on puck we do?
Yep.
Everything has to, you got to be able to go over the stick and on the other guy's stick. Saucer. We're going to work on it this afternoon in our passing. I had a 2-on-1 against Gretzky. You guys know who Gretzky is. 2-on-1. I went back, I slid, and he saucer passed over my body onto the stick and scored. Ridiculous. Sickest set of hands on that guy. So figure out what your strengths are. If you're slow, what do you need to work on? And what is that going to do? Is that going to tap it? Pixie dust? You got to come out and do ladder work. You got to do extra sprints, run stairs, do jump rope, whatever it takes. If you're out of shape, get yourself in shape. If you don't have great hands, what do? Work on it. I used to work on my hands every single day as a pro, 10 years in the summer. 30 years old, I used to stick handle it wherever I was living. So that's something you can improve on. If you're not a good shooter, work on your shot. And guys, you need to do things quicker. So hold yourself to a higher level when you're out on the ice. Did I just go as hard as I could? Ask yourself that. You know, and if you're genuinely tired and you're exhausted, that's fine. If you're not ready to do a drill, just go back to the back of the line. But by doing a drill half speed, is that helping you? It's not. So you got to push yourself, you got to go harder. You got to hit the net, you got to make good passes, all those little things. When I played in Pittsburgh, my coach was so adamant about practice habits that if you made a bad pass, so how many passes in a practice? Probably I'd throw 100 passes. If I make one bad pass, the coach would give you a dirty look. 2 and 3 bad passes, he pulls you off the ice like a 5-year-old. So what's he teaching us?
Pass good.
So I tell you one thing, my passing got unbelievable and my practice habits became so good. I used to get to the rink an hour and a half early to prepare for practice because it was so hard for me. I was a plugger and it was hard. You know, like Jagger could just show up, throw his gear on and get out there and be the best guy on the ice, but I couldn't. I had to prepare mentally for practice. I'd ride the bike, I'd stretch out, I'd think up what drills we're going to do. So that's all preparation. All right, academics. Is there anyone from the north? Is there anyone from New England here? Okay, I coach at a prep school called Nobles. It's in Dover. It's in Dedham, Mass. And we probably have the second or third best high school team in the U.S. next to Shattuck. We had a wagon team. We had 61 kids this year, and 3 kids just got drafted. And you need straight A's to get in. So this is my first year there. So what I learned is you guys got to get good grades. You got to work in your grades. It is life-changing. I mean, there's 6 kids on my team that are going D1 that got scholarships, and there's 3 guys that are drafted. Think about how life-changing that is. I went to prep school. I wasn't a great student, and I worked hard at prep school, and I got my grades up, and I got a D1 scholarship, and I got drafted in high school. Now, I'm not saying you guys are going to get drafted, but give yourself the best opportunity to succeed by doing well in school. You know, C's and D's ain't cutting it. I mean, it's so competitive nowadays to get into colleges and just good schools. You got to have like A's and B pluses. So if that's a weakness, you got to work on it. All right, you guys understand that? Flexibility. You guys stretch. Okay, well that's another thing I used to do is because I always had back issues, so I used to stretch 15 minutes a day. What does stretching do?
Loosen your muscles.
It loosens you up. The other thing it does for you guys since you're growing is it helps on your growth process, on your joints and your bones. I watch a lot of you guys pivot. You guys go to pivot, you open up. A lot of you guys can't even open up because you're so unflexible. Think about that. If you stretch your hips out, think how much better your pivot will be, your acceleration will get quicker, and less injuries. I never had a groin issue, and I never had knee problems. So, and I could do a split. So we're going to stretch today. We're going to go on the ice. I'm going to show you about 15 stretches that I did every day, and I want you guys to do that. Second thing I want you to do is, this is if you want to. I'm not making you do this. If you want to take your game to the next level, you'll be thanking me later. I have my son. My son's 10, and he's a little bit out of shape. So I have him for the last month. He does 50 squats, just 50 squats, 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups every day. And then he runs 2 miles or he rides a bike for 20 minutes, and he's getting thin. He's in good shape now. So it's just a little extra. Can you guys do a little extra? Jagger, I brought him up again. When I played with him, I retired in 2000. He was in his 11th season, kind of almost at the end of his career. He's still playing 10 years later. He signed another contract the other day. Why is he still playing?
Because
he's in phenomenal shape. He's 42 years old, and he works so hard in the weight room, and he does like 500 squats a day. I think I told you guys this the other day, but he works hard at it. So do a little extra. Think of what 50 squats are going to do for you each day in your push-ups. And then lastly is the wrist gripper. You guys have that? Can you get one? They're $3. Any sports store. Get one wrist gripper and do 100 in each hand a day. You guys are in the car, you have plenty of time each day. Do 100 a day. And you're going to send me an email in 6 months and say, Coach, I am ripping the puck off the crossbar. I'm crushing guys' hands in my handshake. Thank you for getting the wrist gripper. That's good too. Wrists. Strengthen your wrists, guys. Strengthen your hands. And it'll give you better hands on the ice. All right? Any questions? Lastly, I just want to share one last thing with you. So, growing up, I was always on the B team my first year, and then the A team. So, don't just think like the path to the NHL, the path to D1 is that it's always the best player, because I wasn't the best player growing up. I had 5 or 6 kids in my age group that were better than me all the time. I never could go to a hockey camp because we didn't have the money to, so I worked for my dad construction in the summer, and I got strong doing that. But don't get down if you make the B team. You know what you do? Get pissed, get angry, and work harder to make the A team. And I know there's politics. Politics happen everywhere. Politics happen at pro level. I signed with Chicago Blackhawks. I got sent down to their minor league team, their AHL team, and I got Player of the Month. I started out with, I had 10 goals, I had 20 points in the first month. I was the leading scorer in the league as a defenseman, and I was like +10, and I was guaranteed to get called up. I was just waiting. So after practice, I go in the locker room, and this kid, Ivan Dropa, his bag was packed. When your bag's packed, that means you're going up. And I looked at it, and I started crying. I cried. This kid was -3. He had no points. -3. I had 20 points. Player, all this shit. All this stuff.
I don't care.
So what did I do, guys? I cried. I was really angry. I cried out of frustration. I wanted to beat someone up. I actually got in my car, and I was driving home. I was going about 80 miles an hour, and this guy was crossing the street. And I actually it went through my head that I'm gonna run this guy over. That's how angry I was. But I didn't, obviously. So what I did was, I went home, I slept on it, I went in and talked to the coach, and the coach goes, Jeff, we have no control over it. They pay these guys, these Russian guys and the Czech guys, a lot of them, they pay them